Okay, Vickie, looking at your uh, trip to Pop's grave. And let's see here. So you're putting on your shoes, driving in the car, buying some flowers, some details at the cemetery, some, I guess some deer out there. You must be like by a park or something. Um, the grave, and then back to taking off your boots again. Okay, let's take a look at the shots here. Okay. All right, so you're shooting with a Nikon Coolpix P500. Got an ISO of 1600. That's good for shooting inside like this. Very good. Whenever you're shooting yourself, it's always tough to try and portray yourself as part of a story. So, in terms of taking off your boots, um, or putting on your boots. Um, Maybe you want to try a different angle or something. Looking down kind of gives, in terms of that, it's hard to see, you know, maybe if you've, I know you're holding, I'm going to put the camera on a tripod, but it'd be great to see where you're maybe pulling on your boots or something like that. Okay, so here you are getting ready to go on the trip. Somebody's in the car with a cup of coffee and, looking out the window as you're driving along in the rearview mirror, and then, um, the other person driving. Shot like this, hard to see what this does in terms of relates to the story. So you may want to figure out if you need this in your story or not. I like the shot with the rear view mirror, but I'm not really sure in terms of what what it says in terms of the story. Okay, now this is great. Love this shot. Nice sharp shot, very nice. Definitely part of the story, whether you're going to be maybe purchasing some flowers. And then there is the purchase of the flowers. Um, but you can see that when you shot the picture, whether it was focused properly or not, it's a little more on the a little soft side. So you definitely want to see if you can get a sharper shot with those things. Same thing with this. Maybe a little camera movement here. You might want to bump up your ISO if it's in a little lower light so that you get a little bit higher, faster shutter speed so that you don't have any camera shake. It's a great little graphic, but in terms of telling the story, I'm not sure how it relates to, I know it's probably something along the way, but I'm not sure how it relates to you going to the cemetery to visit your dad's grave. Now here's a nice touch. I always love having a shot of a sign. So this worked out great. Nice detail shot here. Now you could tie it in too with, in terms of having the person that you went with maybe holding the flowers and walking past here. But just a sign by itself, fine to set the basically where you are, but to tie it in with the story would certainly help if you had that person walking by with the flowers. Like, you get the sense of, okay, here we go, we're going into the cemetery here. Okay, this is good so that you can see your reflection in the mirror. Um, but in terms of okay, so the gates closed. But in terms of a shot, about visiting the grave, there might be something else that you could do. You could have been like in the cemetery and just like shot yourself, self-portrait in the rear view mirror. Just this particular like pedestrian crossing kind of thing. It's not like anything that I think might be important in terms of telling the story. Okay, and so then you've got this geese walking around. Not, it's an okay shot, but I'm not sure if it relates to the story. I like this shot, especially since you can see the deer with the headstones. But then again, too, it's if it relates to your story. Oh, this is kind of a nice pastoral kind of shot. in the cemetery. And then I guess the grave. Okay, so you're putting the flowers here at the grave. That's good. And then you've got the nice shot. Unfortunately, you've got um, these deer fighting, and your ISO's down at 160, and maybe they're moving around, or maybe you're zoomed out. I'm not. It's hard to say, but you've got a little bit of camera shake or something going on here. So it's one of those things too where you might want to make sure you've got your ISO set up higher for a faster capture shot. For a faster shutter speed. This one looks a little soft, and maybe it's some camera moving, or maybe the deer was moving around a little bit. Same thing here. It's hard to tell what. Okay, so it looks like you used the telephoto part of your camera here, but it's a little on the soft side. And in terms of telling the story of the visit to the grave, you got a lot of shot of the deer. And I understand, it's an element of the cemetery, but it's not really part of the story. This tells more of the story. You've got the car parked out by, in the cemetery. Um, and then your boots are off when you're back at home. Okay, so I guess what I would recommend here, let's take a look at, essentially all of them. First off, make sure you're paying attention to your ISOs. In terms of storytelling, um, putting the boots on in the beginning, okay, but I guess maybe I'd like to see some different angles, or maybe if you were actually documenting the other person going to the grave. It would be a little bit easier for you to, show, the more human aspect of it. There's a lot of shots without any people in them, and so it doesn't it doesn't bring you into the story. So when you're getting in the car, I can't really tell who this guy is, or anything in terms of the relation to you. And I can't see his face, so it would definitely help in terms of the emotions of the story. A shot like this, the railroad crossing, maybe not necessary. You've got all these shots of driving here, which are, one or two would be just fine in terms of the journey. Love this one of the flowers and the whole aspect of buying the flowers. The graphic, maybe not necessary, but like we mentioned before about this one with the, maybe have the guy with the flowers walking past the sign here. This pedestrian crossing one might not be necessary, and then the geese, it's a little bit overexposed too. You might want to, after you shoot that picture, if it looks overexposed, don't include it, or else work on it in Photoshop to make it look a little bit nicer. Um, the one that I really like in terms of where I think it sets the tone is this shot right here in terms of the deer. I think that's all you really need to have in terms of like deer. The ones where the deer are fighting and everything like that, nice shots and kind of exciting, but not really telling your story. The next one, of course, with the gravesite, that says something. But it would also be nice if there was a way to see you or somebody, your hand, something, placing the flowers on the grave. In terms of the human element. When I first looked at this picture, I couldn't, I didn't really notice. It's like I'm not really sure if this is your leg. I don't know what this is. So it's hard to say, in terms of what exactly how this relates. Okay, and then let's see, and then when the one with the car here, this is great. This works out fine. This tells more of the story, but also it would be nice to be able to see humans in the picture, and maybe standing over the grave or something, or putting in the flowers. Overall it works okay for, and then your boots at the end. Overall it works okay for the assignment, but in terms of, I would definitely, in terms of, include more people in the picture. to tell more of a story. And I would also pay attention, make sure you're paying attention to your ISO, um, and also making sure that you're getting a fast enough shutter speed to eliminate some of the camera shake. Okay, thanks very much.